In the fall of the year, it came to be hog killing time. So we all gathered up to my grandmother's house, and the men went out to the barn. You heard her shot. And then they came back with a truck with a big old hog on the back of the truck. And he was put on this slab or this crate that had a slab made with wood pieces with holes in between it. And the big iron kettle would be full of hot water and it would be boiling. And you would take the boiling water and pour it over the hog and scrape all the hair off. That way you could get it clean. And then he got hung up by his back legs on this big X-like contraption. And he was hung up there, and they cut him open from top to bottom, took the insides out, cleaned out the intestines to use to stuff the sausage, took the liver and stuff like that to make souse meat, and they cut off the fat, and we put the fat in the big iron pot after we dumped the water out. Put the big fat in there, and that was basically my job, was to stir the fat to make the lard. It cooked all the fat out of the meat and made lard. And they would put all these different sections aside, and then they would begin to cut the hams to hang up in the smokehouse, which would be hung in there for I don't know how many days, but they would be smoked and cured. Then there would be slabs of bacon cut off, and that would be cut up.
That's my favorite story.
And then there would be other parts of the hog would be put through a meat grinder, a big old handheld meat grinder, and ground up. The meat would be ground up, and they would put it in these big wash tubs. And then they would add all kinds of spices and peppers and all that and mix it up.
Was that called souse meat?
No, that was just the sausage they were making.
Okay.
They also kept the liver and all that for the souse meat. And anyway, they would mix up all this to make sausage. Some of it they would stuff into the intestines that had been cleaned out to make stuffed sausage. Some of it they just made into little bricks-like things and wrapped up to put in the freezer. They would keep the, grind up the heart and the liver and that kind of stuff to make souse meat with. And then they took the intestines, some of them, for chitlins. They would cook for chitlins. And some of them they would cook till they got crackling kind of. And they would put that in cornbread, make cornbread with chitlins in it. And that was an all-day affair. And usually the black families at the bottom of the hill would come up and help. And they would get part of the hog as their payment for helping. And sometimes their children would come with them, and they would hide behind one tree, and I'd hide behind another tree, and we'd kind of peek at each other throughout the day until we finally felt comfortable enough to play with each other. So by the end of the day, we were playing with each other. But every bit of the hog was used. There was just almost nothing that was not used in some form. And it just has wonderful smells and whatever. You just knew that hog killing was going on because of all the smells. And
so you just killed one hog?
Yeah, well, one at a time. Probably usually we only did one each season because it would be a huge, huge hog. It would be enough to, to feed the family and whatever. So, and we made all kinds of wonderful meals.
Did you
You
eat the
know.
brains? Eggs and brain?
Yeah, I think they used the brains. I've forgotten what that may have been put in with something else. But just about everything was used, and it was the most fun time of my youth that I can remember as a child would be going up there and watching all that, and it was fascinating.
You weren't sad that they killed the hog?
No, I never really thought about it. At the time it was just, it was gruesome when they cut it open and all the stuff came falling out, but other than that, it was just a fun, fascinating day just to watch. And it was a fun-filled day because everybody was working together, and it was just, that was it.
Okay.